did, yeah. I just had a feeling. I don't know. There had been incidents before, health incidents.
Elvis Presley's granddaughter, Riley Keough, has revealed a shocking secret about Graceland, giving fans a rare glimpse into the hidden corners of the legendary singer's iconic home. But what secrets has Riley Keough exposed about the upstairs of Graceland? And how will this astonishing revelation affect our understanding of Elvis Presley's life and legacy? Join us to uncover the secrets. Graceland's secret heart. For over 40 years, a quiet mystery has surrounded a part of Graceland. The famous home where Elvis Presley once lived has drawn millions of visitors from all over the world. People have walked through the beautiful living room, admired the sparkling kitchen, and stood in awe of his music room filled with memories. But there's one place no one has ever been allowed to see: the entire upper floor. No tourists, no cameras, no special exceptions. It has stayed completely sealed, untouched since the day Elvis left the world in 1977. Even the most loyal Elvis fans have never laid eyes on this hidden space. It has remained a secret, guarded like a precious treasure. But now, for the first time, someone very close to Elvis is gently opening that door to share what lies behind it. Riley Keough, his granddaughter, is offering tender and heartfelt details about this quiet part of Graceland, a place filled with memories and meaning. The reason the upstairs has stayed closed isn't because of any scandal or dark story. It's closed because it matters deeply to the Presley family. Those rooms were Elvis's private world. It was where he laughed, cried, rested, and found peace when life outside felt too heavy. His personal belongings are still there, just as he left them. His famous jumpsuits still hang in the closet. The bathroom looks exactly the same. It feels like time stopped there, waiting for him to return. For Riley, Graceland has never just been a beautiful house filled with gold records and fancy rooms. It's her grandfather's home, a place filled with stories and emotions she never experienced firsthand, but always felt close to. Even though she never met Elvis, she grew up surrounded by stories of him, hearing about his kindness, his struggles, and his love for family. Spending quiet moments upstairs allowed her to feel his presence in a way words could never explain. In those peaceful, silent rooms, Riley could sense his joys and heartbreaks. She could imagine him reading his favorite books, strumming his guitar, and escaping the world for a little while. It wasn't about the glitter or fame, it was about the man behind the name, a grandfather whose spirit still lingers in those walls. What was Graceland like to her, to the king of rock and roll, and to the world? Stay with us. More than just a house. To truly understand why Graceland holds such a special place in people's hearts, we need to look back at where it all began. Before the fame, before the music, this famous house in Memphis was just a simple, graceful home. Built in 1939 by a man named Keough, it stood quietly among open fields. It wasn't a mansion full of gold and glitter. It was a lovely southern home with tall white columns, pretty arched windows, and a warm front porch that seemed to invite people in. It had just 10 rooms and was meant to feel calm, not grand. Everything changed in 1957. At only 22 years old, Elvis Presley had already become a music star. His songs were everywhere. His name was shouted by fans, and photographers followed him non-stop. The world around him was loud and wild, leaving him little peace. In the middle of all this chaos, Elvis knew he needed a place to escape, a quiet spot just for himself and the people he loved. That's when he decided to buy Graceland, reportedly putting down $12,500 for it. But for Elvis, it was never about the size of the house or how fancy it was. He simply wanted a place to rest, laugh, and be himself without the eyes of the world watching. However, peace didn't last forever. Over the years, Elvis transformed Graceland into something more than a home. It became a reflection of who he was, bold, colorful, and full of surprises. One of the most famous changes came in the late 1960s when he created the Jungle Room. Covered in green shag carpeting, even on the ceiling, filled with carved wooden chairs and tropical decorations, it felt like stepping into a rainforest. This wasn't just a fun room. It became a private recording studio where Elvis recorded some of his final emotional songs during the last years of his life. Another important spot at Graceland is the Meditation Garden. Built in 1964, it was first meant for quiet moments and reflection. Today, it's where Elvis, his parents, and his daughter Lisa Marie Presley are laid to rest. Fans from all around the world visit this gentle, peaceful space. Many leave flowers, notes, and personal messages, showing how deeply Elvis touched their lives. It's a special place where people feel connected to him in a quiet, meaningful way. Since opening its doors to the public in 1982, Graceland has welcomed more than 20 million visitors. But it's more than a sightseeing stop. It's a place of memories, a place where fans, even those who never met Elvis, come to feel close to the man behind the legend. Over the years, famous faces like Muhammad Ali, Paul Simon, U2, U.S. presidents, world leaders, and even royals like Prince William and Prince Harry have visited, eager to walk the same halls Elvis once did. Yet, despite all the attention, one area of Graceland has always remained off-limits: the second floor. No tourists, no cameras, and no exceptions. It stayed exactly as it was when Elvis passed away in 1977. His bedroom still holds his belongings, his closet still keeps his famous jumpsuits, and the bathroom where his life sadly ended remains untouched. This isn't done to hide secrets, but to protect a very personal, private part of his life. The Presley family treasures this space as something too meaningful to share with the world. People continue to visit Graceland not just for the gold records, sparkling outfits, or classic cars, but because of the warmth and nostalgia that fill the house. In August 2018, a gravestone Elvis designed for his mother, with both a cross and a Star of David, was added to the meditation garden. It quietly reminded visitors of the importance of family and faith in Elvis's life. What did Riley reveal to the world about the upper rooms? Let's find out. Riley Keough reveals the hidden soul of Graceland. For over 40 years, a part of Graceland remained a quiet mystery. This section of Elvis Presley's famous home was completely off-limits to visitors. No one was allowed to step inside, and no photos were ever taken. The upstairs level, where Elvis spent his most private moments and where his life sadly ended, was carefully locked away. Even the most loyal fans never had the chance to see it. As time passed, the mystery only grew deeper, and people's curiosity about what lay behind those closed doors never faded. But recently, something unexpected happened. Riley Keough, Elvis's granddaughter and the current owner of Graceland, decided to speak about it. After many years of silence, Riley slowly began to share small, heartfelt details about the upstairs rooms, stories and memories that had always belonged to the Presley family alone. Her words weren't meant to shock or stir up trouble. Instead, they came from a place of love, honesty, and sometimes gentle sadness. For decades, wild rumors surrounded the second floor. Some people believed strange stories, like Elvis faking his death and using those rooms to hide a secret. Others imagined he had escaped to another country. Riley finally cleared those rumors, explaining that the rooms had stayed untouched since Elvis passed away in 1977. Not because of any secret, but because of the deep emotions tied to them. Everything is still there, just as it was on that day. His clothes hanging in the closet, his records by the bed, and the scent of his cologne still in the air. The clock above his bed even stopped at the very moment the paramedics arrived. This wasn't a decision made by museum staff, but by the Presley family. Elvis's father, Vernon Presley, made sure the upstairs would remain just as it was. A simple act of love, preserving it as a private and sacred place for the family. As a child, Riley would visit Graceland often. While tourists walked through the downstairs, she and her cousins would sometimes sneak up the stairs, always careful not to touch anything. They would quietly sit and soak in the stillness, imagining what life had been like for Elvis in those rooms. Riley was especially drawn to one room, Elvis's personal study. It was a cozy space with dark wooden walls and shelves filled with books about faith, philosophy, and the mysteries of life. She discovered notebooks filled with his thoughts, from prayers to unfinished song lyrics. One page in particular touched her deeply. It simply had the word "free" written again and again. These small discoveries helped Riley feel closer to the grandfather she never got to meet. There were little details everywhere: silk sheets still on the bed, nightstands holding bits and pieces of his life. On one was a well-worn Bible with his notes written inside. On the other were bottles of medicine, some still unopened. The most moving find for Riley was a small shoebox hidden under the bed marked "Do Not Open." Inside were letters. One was addressed to Lisa Marie, and another to whoever might find them after Elvis's passing. Riley never shared what those letters said, only saying they were too personal for the world to see. They showed a side of Elvis that the public never knew: tender, thoughtful, and loving. There's one room Riley doesn't like to speak about: the bathroom where Elvis passed away. She revealed that it, too, remains untouched. The family doesn't see it as a tragic place, but as a peaceful room where Elvis often read, prayed, and found calm when the world outside became too loud. Another room upstairs, unknown to most, was what Riley called the quiet room. It was a small hidden spot with soft lighting, floor cushions, and a humming machine that filled the room with a gentle sound. This was where Elvis would sit in silence, far from cameras, fans, and noise. A peaceful place where he could simply be himself. Why has Riley chosen to open up now? After the passing of her mother, Lisa Marie, Riley felt her role had changed. She wasn't just the owner of Graceland anymore. She had become the keeper of the Presley family's memories. It felt like the right time to gently share a few stories, not for fame or attention, but to give fans a closer, sweeter connection to the real Elvis, the man who laughed, cried, hoped, and dreamed inside those walls. The secret songs of Graceland. People have been whispering about the lost Elvis Presley tapes for years. The stories tell of secret songs, melodies created in quiet moments tucked away somewhere inside Graceland. Could it really be true? Did Elvis purposely leave behind music no one has ever heard? Or are these just sweet hopes dreamed up by devoted fans? These rumors have lasted because Elvis never truly stopped making music. Even as he stepped away from the spotlight in his final years, music remained his greatest comfort. When his health began to fail and public appearances became rare, he still turned to his songs. In 1976, he set up his own recording space right at home, the famous Jungle Room at Graceland. That year, in February and again in October, Elvis recorded several songs there, pouring his heart into every word and note. These weren't ordinary recordings. They were filled with raw emotion, deep feeling, and a touch of sadness, sometimes even experimenting with new sounds and ideas. A few of these songs, like Way Down, Moody Blue, and some cherished gospel numbers, were released after Elvis passed away. Fans were thrilled to have these final treasures, but behind the scenes, people who worked closely with Elvis hinted that not everything had been shared. Some songs were left unfinished, and others were shelved because Elvis wasn't well enough or wasn't satisfied with them. The idea of missing recordings gave birth to endless rumors, keeping the mystery alive. Things got even more confusing when bootleg tapes started to appear. Old vinyl records and cassettes claiming to feature unreleased Elvis tracks made their way into collectors' hands. Some were real, alternate versions of known songs or rare performances, but others were fakes, made by impersonators or manipulated in studios to sound like Elvis. One well-known bootleg from the 1990s is claimed to have a heartbreaking ballad called "This Is Goodbye," said to be recorded just before his death, but experts later proved the voice belonged to someone else. Even though many of these tapes were proven false, the belief in their possibility never faded. The mystery continues because Elvis's private collection has remained one of the most closely guarded in the music world. While other famous musicians have had lost songs and recordings released over time, most of Elvis's personal works are still hidden away. RCA and Sony, who manage his recordings, have shared a few unreleased songs and alternate takes, but only through careful, selective releases. Many fans believe that somewhere within Graceland's upstairs rooms, behind those locked doors no one is allowed to open, lie secrets far greater than the public knows. Those rooms have remained closed since 1977. Not even Riley Keough, Elvis's granddaughter and the current owner of Graceland, has fully explored them. She has said those rooms are frozen in time, a quiet space filled with memories. Though Riley hasn't confirmed that any lost recordings are up there, she has hinted that personal belongings and unknown items remain inside, waiting quietly in the dark. Archivists who work with Graceland have quietly admitted that parts of the house still haven't been fully cataloged. Elvis's study and bedroom are said to hold items never touched by historians: letters, scribbled notes, beloved books, and maybe even old tapes. One former staff member anonymously shared online that they once saw a reel-to-reel tape recorder and a stack of unlabeled tapes in Elvis's upstairs study. No one has officially confirmed this story, but it fits with what people already know about Elvis. He often recorded himself at home. Sometimes he would sing into a tape recorder just to hear how he sounded. Other times he would capture rough ideas for songs or leave personal messages for his friends and musicians. These recordings weren't made for the public. They were pieces of Elvis's heart, tiny windows into his thoughts, hopes, and private struggles. Felton Jarvis, one of Elvis's producers, once spoke of how Elvis recorded much more music than RCA ever received. He remembered late nights when Elvis would sit at his piano, recording songs just for himself, letting his voice fill the quiet halls of Graceland. those private moments captured on tape may still be waiting somewhere hidden away in those upstairs rooms. While these songs and reveal rock the world, speculations entered the heart of people too. But what rumors were these, and how did Riley handle them? Stick with us. Is the king still alive? For as long as anyone can remember, people have wondered if Elvis Presley truly passed away. The idea that the king of rock and roll might have quietly vanished, leaving behind mysteries and unanswered questions, still captures hearts today. It sounds like the kind of story you'd hear in an old movie, yet to many fans, it feels like something that could actually be true. The thought that Elvis might have faked his death has lived on for decades. It isn't just fueled by wild imaginations or old gossip papers. It lingers because of the strange details surrounding his final years. Everything about the way Elvis lived during that time made people believe he wanted to disappear. From the way Graceland was designed to his craving for privacy, it seemed as though he was preparing for an escape. One of the most talked about rumors is about a secret tunnel hidden beneath Graceland. According to stories shared by former workers and curious visitors, this tunnel stretched from the mansion to a private exit somewhere along the property's edge. Some believed it even reached beyond the estate. It was said to give Elvis a way to sneak away from the spotlight, avoid crowds, and perhaps leave his famous life behind for good. People who find this story believable often point to Elvis's withdrawn behavior in the 1970s. He stopped touring, rarely made public appearances, and stayed mostly on the second floor of Graceland, an area that's still off-limits to this day. He was so private that even his staff hardly saw him. He was known to be fearful for his safety, often checking for hidden microphones and avoiding strangers. To some, this wasn't just isolation, it was careful planning. Is there any proof of this secret tunnel? The official blueprints of Graceland don't show one, but then again, those same blueprints don't include the upstairs rooms either. While a few employees have denied the tunnel's existence, others have hinted that not even the staff knew all of Graceland's secrets. In 1987, a rumor spread about a reporter who claimed to find a hidden entrance at the back of the property. Though no photos or solid evidence were shown, the story quickly gained attention, adding yet another layer to the mystery. Not long after Elvis's death, stories of strange sightings began. People claimed they saw a man who looked like Elvis boarding a plane at Memphis International Airport using the name John Burroughs, an alias Elvis had used in the past. Though brushed off as coincidence, the tale stayed alive. In 1984, a photograph taken at Graceland showed a groundskeeper who looked remarkably like Elvis. The man wore sunglasses and had the same familiar features. Fans became excited and newspapers picked up the story. No one from Graceland confirmed who the man was. Over the years, there were more reported sightings. Some said they saw Elvis in Michigan, at a Burger King in Texas, and even sitting in the crowd at an Elvis impersonator show in Nevada. In 1994, a strange story emerged about a man visiting a California DMV. He looked like Elvis, spoke softly, paid in cash, and when asked his name, he simply said it didn't matter. There was no security footage released, but the story made its way through Elvis fan groups. Adding to the mystery, fans noticed an odd detail on Elvis's gravestone. His middle name was spelled Aaron instead of Aaron, which was his legal name. Believers in the theory took this as a hidden message, claiming it meant Elvis wasn't really buried there. Why would Elvis fake his death? Many think it was because he was tired. By the late 1970s, his health was declining. He struggled with addiction, and the pressure of fame had become too much. Some believed he thought the only way to find peace was to leave it all behind. Those who support this idea say Elvis had the money, connections, and privacy at Graceland to make it happen, especially if that secret tunnel existed. Still, no solid proof has ever come to light. His family identified his body, an autopsy was performed, and thousands attended his funeral. Many of the so-called sightings were later forgotten, and those who claimed to have seen him quietly changed their stories. Yet the mystery is part of what keeps Elvis's legend alive. In his final months, he vanished from the public eye, stopped giving interviews, and avoided cameras. He stayed upstairs in Graceland, in rooms still closed off to the world today. The lack of answers left space for endless stories to grow. The Presley legacy. The name Presley is known all over the world, mostly because of Elvis Presley, the unforgettable king of rock and roll. While his name shines brightly for his music and fame, the Presley family also carries quiet stories, old secrets, and whispers of mysteries that have followed them for many years. Some believe the family history might be a little more complicated than what people think. Since Elvis passed away in 1977, 003 to 013 people have often wondered if he had other children besides Lisa Marie Presley, his only recognized daughter. Every now and then, someone comes forward claiming to be a secret child of Elvis. They bring with them old photos, handwritten letters, birth certificates, or DNA test results, hoping to prove their place in the family. Some of these pictures surprise people because the faces seem to carry the same soulful eyes, the familiar crooked smile, and the thick black hair Elvis was famous for. A few of these people didn't stop at just sharing their claims. Some even took their cases to court, asking not just for recognition but also for a share of Elvis's fortune. And it's no small fortune. The Presley estate is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It includes Graceland, Elvis's famous Memphis home, rights to his image, music earnings, and countless personal treasures. However, most of these legal battles were turned down. The evidence was often too weak, or the DNA samples came from unreliable sources. What makes this story even more interesting is how carefully the Presley estate is protected. After Elvis passed away, his daughter Lisa Marie managed Graceland and the family's belongings. When she passed away in 2023, the responsibility went to her daughter, Riley Keough. But even this handover didn't happen easily. A legal disagreement broke out between Priscilla Presley, Elvis's former wife, and Riley over changes made to the trust years ago. The matter was settled privately, but it reminded everyone just how tightly the Presley family guards their legacy. Even though most of the claims about secret heirs have been dismissed, the rumors haven't stopped. Over the years, around a dozen people have claimed to be Elvis's children. Some felt they had strong proof. One man even asked the court for permission to open Elvis's grave for a DNA test, but it was denied. Another woman claimed she had bought a lock of Elvis's hair at an auction and tried to use it for testing, but the Presley estate said it wasn't reliable. The Elvis Presley Trust works hard to protect the family name and manage everything from money and property to Elvis's image and music rights. For anyone to be legally accepted as an heir, they would need clear, undeniable evidence, like a properly handled DNA test and a well-documented history showing how the evidence was collected and kept safe. Unfortunately for the claimants, many of their so-called proofs have come from old souvenirs, fan collections, and unofficial items which can't be trusted in court. Still, some fans and believers refuse to let go of the idea. Stories about Elvis having secret romances before and during his marriage to Priscilla have floated around for years. Names appear in old news stories, online forums, and tabloid articles. Some of these women are said to have received private letters, money, or secret phone calls from Elvis, but the family has never officially confirmed any of these claims. Lisa Marie and Riley have both remained silent about the rumored siblings. Their quietness only makes people more curious. Are they ignoring the rumors to avoid giving them life, or are they quietly guarding a family truth? No one outside the family truly knows. Riley Keough, the heart behind Graceland. Riley Keough is now the heart and soul of Graceland. At just 34 years old, she hasn't simply inherited land and famous belongings. She has taken on a world filled with memories, stories, and big responsibilities. Graceland isn't just a house or a tourist stop. It's a place overflowing with music, family pride, and history. It holds deep meaning for fans everywhere. And now Riley stands in the middle of it all, carefully managing both the public side and the private, tender parts of the Presley family's story. Riley doesn't sit quietly in the background or sign papers from far away. She is involved in every little detail. She works closely with experts who help protect old treasures, business teams who keep Graceland running, and archivists who take care of precious family memories. Nothing happens at Graceland without Riley's approval. From events and new displays to tiny changes inside the house, she gives the final word. On top of that, Riley is leading a very special project to carefully scan and save Elvis's personal letters, music notes, rare photos, and recordings. These are being preserved so future generations can feel connected to him too. But Riley's job is about more than keeping old things safe. She carries a big responsibility, telling Elvis's story the right way. To many people, Elvis is a huge legend, a music star from long ago. But to Riley, he's also a grandfather she never got to know in person but feels close to in spirit. She understands that Elvis represented much more than just rock and roll. He stood for rebellion, hope, loneliness, and a time in American history filled with both excitement and struggle. Riley wants the world to remember him as a real person, not just a famous face. She's in a delicate position, balancing between being his family and being the protector of his legend. While the world remembers Elvis as a star, Riley sees the man behind the fame, a person with dreams, worries, and joys. That's why she hopes Graceland stays more than a museum. She wants it to be a place filled with warmth, meaning, and understanding. To help with that, Riley is creating partnerships with schools and colleges. She wants young people to learn about Elvis not only as a singer but as a person whose life teaches lessons about culture, fame, race, and creativity. This way, his story stays alive and real, not just a dusty memory of the past. Riley is also quietly growing Graceland's online presence, but she isn't chasing trends or flashy videos. Instead, her team is carefully turning Elvis's handwritten notes, letters, and song lists into digital files. Using modern scanners and thoughtful organizing, they're building a beautiful collection for fans and researchers to enjoy for years to come. One of Riley's strongest beliefs is about protecting what matters most. Many have asked her to open the second floor of Graceland, the private space where Elvis lived, dreamed, and passed away. But Riley has firmly said no. She refuses to turn those rooms into a spectacle. She believes some memories are too personal to be shared, and the upstairs of Graceland remains a peaceful, untouched place kept safe for the family alone. What do you think about Elvis Presley? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more celebrity gist. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.